Universal Basic Income, A New Path to Social Justice. Universal Basic Income, UBI, is a public policy proposal that aims to guarantee every citizen the right to receive a fixed amount of money regularly, without the need to prove income or any condition for receipt. The central idea is simple: to ensure everyone has a minimum financial base to be able to meet their basic needs without discouraging people from working. The idea of Universal Basic Income, UBI, emerged from a combination of philosophical, social, and economic thoughts throughout history, but it does not have a single point of origin. It developed in several different places and times, as different thinkers sought solutions to poverty, inequality, and social justice. Such ideas spread mainly during the 18th and 19th centuries, when the emergence of steam engines such as spinning machines and the concentration of land in the hands of a few caused many people to fall into poverty. In the 18th century, Thomas Paine proposed in 1797, in his pamphlet Agrarian Justice, a system in which all citizens would receive a sum of money upon reaching adulthood, financed by an inheritance tax. He believed that natural resources belonged to everyone, and that accumulated wealth needed to be partially redistributed. In the 16th century, Thomas More, in his work Utopia, imagined a society where property was common and no one was in need, an idea that inspired later concepts of income redistribution. In the 1960s, Milton Friedman proposed the negative income tax, a policy similar to basic income, in which people with low incomes would receive money from the government. Recently, since the 1980s, with the creation of the BIET, Basic Income Earth Network, the idea has been discussed worldwide as a viable public policy. Countries such as Finland, Canada, and Brazil have tested or implemented experimental versions of UBI, such as Bolsa Familia. In short, basic income did not emerge in a single place, but was formed by the convergence of ideas throughout history, mainly in Europe and the United States, with different justifications: social justice, individual freedom, economic efficiency, and response to technological changes. In a world where automation, artificial intelligence, and precarious work threaten millions of jobs, UBI emerges as an alternative form of social protection to ensure that no one is left behind. Unlike traditional assistance programs, it does not require the beneficiary to be unemployed. For example, it is universal, unconditional, and periodic. Proponents of UBI argue that this policy can reduce poverty, reduce inequality, strengthen individual freedom, and simplify state bureaucracy. In addition, it can stimulate creativity, entrepreneurship, and allow people to choose their life paths more freely, without the constant pressure of survival. Critics, on the other hand, question the cost of implementation and the risk of discouraging work. However, experiments carried out in countries such as Finland, Canada, and Brazil have shown that UBI does not necessarily lead to reduced productivity and can even improve the general well-being of the population. Critics of the Bolsa Familia program have often argued that the program discourages beneficiaries from working, but this criticism is not supported, since it is not possible to pay all the monthly bills and buy items such as food and clothes with only $500 in benefits, since this amount is just an extra help to pay the bills and ensure that some people do not die of hunger. More than a utopia, Universal Basic Income is a concrete proposal that is gaining strength in debates around the world, especially in times of economic and social crises. Ultimately, it is about rethinking the role of the state, solidarity, and human dignity in building a fairer and more sustainable future, since it acts in the fight against extreme poverty. With a guaranteed income, no one needs to go hungry or sleep on the streets. 2. Real freedom of choice. With the basics guaranteed, people can choose better jobs, study, take care of their children, or start their own businesses without despair, and not submit to jobs that are very exploitative and pay little. 3. Stimulating the local economy. When people receive money, they spend it, and this boosts commerce, creates jobs, and makes money circulate. 4. Simplicity in public management. The UBI avoids the bureaucracy of complicated social programs, because it is universal and automatic. 5. Protection against crises, pandemics, mass unemployment due to technology. The UBI works as a safety net in these times. Why is this idea so necessary today? Reducing poverty and social inequality. AUBI guarantees a minimum income floor that directly impacts the most vulnerable groups, reducing extreme poverty and significantly flattening inequality. Recent studies indicate that direct resource transfer programs reduce the gap between rich and poor and improve the population's overall standard of living. Confronting automation and job insecurity. With the advancement of artificial intelligence and robotics, many occupations are at risk of extinction or of having their wages pushed down. Technology leaders, such as Vinod Khosla and OpenAI executives, advocate UBI as a mechanism to soften the economic impact of automation, ensuring financial security even in the face of job losses. Protection against the cost of living crisis and economic instability. In contexts of high inflation and external shocks, pandemics, wars, energy crises, UBI acts as an automatic stabilizer. People maintain purchasing power, reduce debt, and better cope with sudden changes in the basic cost of living. Evidence from basic income studies shows improvements in food security and reduced financial stress in the first months of implementation. Improved mental health and well-being. Reduced economic insecurity has a direct effect on mental health, reducing anxiety and depression. Simulations indicate that the population receiving basic income experiences less stress, especially women in vulnerable situations, which positively impacts public health indicators. Stimulating innovation, entrepreneurship, and future resilience. By eliminating the fear of deprivation, UBI frees up human capital to invest in education, create new businesses or engage in social projects. Pilot programs in the U.S., Ann Arbor, and community-based local currency initiatives, Circles UBI in Berlin, show that beneficiaries use the resource to launch startups and cooperatives, boosting creativity and economic dynamism. Furthermore, national implementation scenarios, as indicated by analyses by the Canadian Parliamentary Accountability Office, show that a well-calibrated UBI could reduce poverty by up to 40%, reinforcing its effectiveness as a tool for social resilience in future crises. Not to mention that we are entering a period of late capitalism in which companies, through automation and AI, are able to produce more and more, but at the same time people are unable to buy their products due to reduced purchasing power. Our generation is poorer than our parents, and the lack of people consuming will end up generating more unemployment and more poverty, which could cause societies to begin to collapse. If you liked the video, subscribe, like, comment and activate the notification bell.